how do you prevent girls from flaking on you?
Build as much of a connection as you possibly can before the time bridge, before the number close, before you ask her on a date. The caveat to that, though, is you don't want to be the annoying salesman that she can't get away from. So I'm a big fan of taking an interaction as far as I can, but also recognizing its natural conclusion. Don't rope her in longer than she wants to be there. She should never feel backed into a corner. Take the interaction as far as we can, and then she's more likely to not flake.
Yeah, here in Los Angeles, the flake rate is astronomical. Probably of
Mhm.
any city I've ever been to. I think it's normal, like two-thirds of girls are gonna flake because you have like rich guys, good-looking guys, famous guys, and then the city itself is so widespread. Like people on the beach don't date people in downtown. So I'd say like there's always like, try to have like solid, proper game. That's a given. And then, figure out the logistics, right? Is she in your general area? And either try to get it in between the date, like the neighborhoods, or like ideal world nearer to where you are. But if she's like really far, make it really easy for her. So if she's really hot, sometimes what I'll do is I'll send a picture of my dog, Lady. Is like, hey, Lady says that friends don't let friends drink and drive. Let me send you an Uber. Right. Now I'm not gonna do it to like some, mid girl, but if she's hot, I will control logistics. And then obviously like upsell some sort of like really cool, activity, restaurant, whatever it is that you do for a date. And in that regards, if you can control for logistics, upsell it, make it exciting, in addition to your proper game, that can reduce some of the flake rate.
How toxic do we want to get here?
Let's go
How
for it,
toxic can we
Michael.
get with these
Are you?
answers?
Is this evil
All
Sartain
right,
today?
so we're gonna have three different levels. Yes, we're gonna have three different levels to keep her from flaking. Okay, the first one is the one you guys have said, and you're absolutely correct. If you have a great connection with her, and she's thinking about you afterwards, then the likelihood of her flaking is very low. The second thing I'm going to recommend for you guys is have a social media, because what happens is when she's not with you, she is going to check your social media. She's going to check the number of stories that you have, and you're going to notice that if you can catch a girl watching three, four, five stories in a row, the flake rate is going to be lower. So I actually think having a life where it looks like, hey man, this looks like a person that I would like to hang out with, or at least showing the main thing she can't feel like is that she's the best you can do. If she doesn't feel like she's the best you can do, she's just less likely to flake. But here's the third one, and this is the most important one, and this is kind of fucking toxic. FOMO. Man, I just create events where I just really make them feel like shit if they don't show up. And it's either one of these things where it's like we're rescuing animals, like, oh, you just don't give a fuck about the animals, or it's a situation, and I've done this before, and it's pretty fucking toxic, where it's like we invite them. I had this one girl, this huge influencer. This girl flaked on everything we ever did. And I invited her to a party, and this legit happened. So like I wasn't doing this on purpose. It just accidentally happened. The guy who was throwing the party saw a picture of her, and she had like a big old BBL, and he's like, I don't like her, I don't want her to come. So I uninvited her to the party that she was supposed to go to. And when I uninvited her, she never flaked on anything else I ever did from that point forward. That part was like super fucking toxic. She showed up to everything from that point forward. So the thing that I found is like, JT, you're in LA. Next week we're doing Babies in Toyland, the pink party. You should come to that, because what happens is when girl A sees that Caitlin Runk and Kindly Myers and Emily Sears and Abigail Ratchford and Lindsay Palis are there, and they think, oh, there's going to be some high status dude there, and those girls are going to get his attention instead of me. The girls never flake. That's what makes them show up, is just the bigger, better deal. So I'm a big fan of creating the illusion of the bigger, better deal, and because of that, they genuinely don't flake. But like, oh, there's three, like I said, there's three steps. The first one is the actual connection when you're with the girl. The second one is the time bridge. So it's like partially what you show on social media. And then the third one is creating fear of missing out, vanity and guilt.
Yeah, so yeah, fucking great answers. Yeah, to summarize that, I agree. Give them a reason to show up. If you're running parties, that's awesome. If you're not, then you need to not ask too early. Guys, ask before there's actually a reason for this girl to show up, other than, oh, this guy kind of seems cool and he's friendly, right? If that's all that's going on, then yeah, you're gonna get a lot of flakes. So is anything better than that? Give her a friend at the dinner, like literally almost anything. Okay. If she'd rather watch a movie or some shit, she's gonna do that instead of seeing you. So build attraction first. The biggest problem is guys just ask too early. Girls are super agreeable. Sometimes girls say yes when they want to fucking say no. Like, you can see that. You can literally go out to any girl on the fucking street, just walk up to her and be like, hey, you're cute. Can I get your number? Half of the girls will say yes and give you a fake number or never fucking respond. And guys are confused because guys don't do that shit, right? We're just honest. And so when a girl does that, guys are like, fuck, she flaked. I must have done something very recently that fucked this up. It's like, no, when you asked and she said yes, she probably meant no, right? So make sure you're not asking too early. And then to Michael's point, have some scarcity here, okay? Make it seem like if she flakes now, hey, guess what? Like, she might not get another opportunity with you. But most women, they know with guys, you're chasing, you're asking, like, but when you're free, I can be free this day. What about this day? I'll make any time for you. So that when the girl does the fucking calculation and she's thinking, okay, maybe she might even like you. Maybe she wants to see you. Maybe she's really into you. But she's like, well, hang on. My best friend Stacy just asked to hang out. I haven't seen her in ages. And this guy that I'm going on a date with, I can just fucking reschedule. This guy's going to make fucking time for me without a doubt. So when you ask to meet up, ask when her schedule's like, then tell her like, hey, listen, I'll need to check and I'll get back to you. Then you get back to a few days before, you're like, hey, some things have moved around. I can make some time on Tuesday. That works for me now. So when the girl does that calculation, should I flake if something else comes up? She's like, fuck, this guy had to check his schedule. He wasn't even sure. It's only because something got canceled. I don't know if I'm going to have another opportunity with this guy soon. So yeah, make sure she's got a reason to show up. Don't do it too early. And then, yeah, has some scarcity.
Hey, real quick, I want to tell like probably the most fucked up, not flaking story, but a story of a girl being late and unaccountable. Do you guys remember? This was probably 2017, something like that. There were like 4 blood moons in the same year. So we were all going as a group to watch the blood moon up on Mount Charleston, not Mount Charleston, up in Red Rock Canyon. And this girl hit us up and she goes, hey, can you guys wait for me? I'm going to be late. Guys, she said, can you wait for me for an eclipse? I want you to think about what I just said. Like, think about the lack of accountability. A fucking lunar eclipse. Somehow we're going to hold it up for this girl because she felt like the need to be late because she wasn't accountable. That is how insane they are. Like what Markus said, if there's anything else going on, anything to distract them, the idea that she asked us to wait for her so that we'd miss the eclipse. We can't move the eclipse, honey. You know, that was like a literal force, an act of God. She wanted us to move for her. And the other thing I was going to say is, this is really funny. This girl's a doctor, by the way. She's a doctor who worked in an ER. This is the craziest thing ever. Here's the other thing that was absolutely crazy. Is that, and if you ask Steve Fowler this, or if you ask Barry Blood, these are 2 big party promoters in Los Angeles. If you ask them, they're going to tell you the same thing. It is easier for me to get 100 girls to show up to a party than it is for me to get 10 girls to show up. And it's very confusing for people. And the reason why, so if you look at the average body count for men, on the bottom third, it's like 0 or 1. In the middle, in the median, this is for the United States, it's about 5 to 7. When you get in the top 5%, it's 50. And when you get to the top 1%, it's 150. So it goes like this. And the reason why is, like I said, there's these guys who have like unlimited access. When we throw a big party, it's all the girls show up. You create this critical mass and all the girls end up showing up. And all the guys who ask girls out on that date, they flaked on them to come to Maxim Carnival or to come to Babes in Toyland Pink Party or to come to something like that. And what you'll find is it's way easier for me if I can get a couple of key girls to show up to an event. Every girl then shows up. And so it's actually easier for me to get 6 girls to go with me to like a party is actually harder than if I were to get 30 or 40 girls to show up with me to like a comp at Omni or something like that. So it's like, it's the opposite of what you think. The more girls, then you successively, each girl get less resistance, if that makes any sense. And the flake rate actually starts to decrease the bigger the event is. And that was something I noticed. Like the biggest event of all was Bulgarian's Ignite parties. When I would ask girls, I usually, if you're really good, if you're new to this, you're going to get like a 10% response rate if you invite a ton of girls, and maybe like a 50% reconfirmation rate. For Bulgarian, it was an 80% open rate, and it was like a fucking 90% of those girls actually showed up. So something like that, like super high status, the offer is going to cause, and what happened was because so many girls were coming, the successive resistance per girl started to decrease to the point where like no girl said no and you had no flakes.
So for example, in a one-on-one date context, What would you recommend for like normal guys who are not necessarily into social circle game in order to can you still hear me? I seem to be a little frozen.
Yeah, you look like you're lagging there a little bit. Ice. Is this the
Wow.
Peruvian internet or the Iceland internet?
Exactly,
Which one is
yeah.
this?
Fucking South Americans.
Which one? We never know
can
where
hear
you
though.
are, bro.
Your video's just cook, but we can hear you, bro.
I can
Yeah,
hear you.
I
can't
just
see you.
can't plug it in again.
Oh, what I said before. Yeah, it's
Yeah.
like what Marcus said. It's attraction, and I also think it's having really good social media.
Alrighty.